So we've come to our next session. Can I get a slide here? Forecasting the future of travel. And with that, we have a first presenter. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage. She is the Business Development Manager for Southeast Asia at STR. Hopefully I pronounced this right. Welcome to the stage, Ms. Fenady Uriarte.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm very excited really to be part of this session because it's about forecasting, it's about data. I mean, earlier, Liz mentioned about, the crystal ball. We don't have the crystal ball, but we are obviously relying on the data. So with STR, we do collect the data from the hotels all over the world, and I'm happy to share some bits of information that hopefully will be very useful for you to be able to project, what's around the next few quarters, especially for next year, right? All right, so what I'm going to show to you will be the global picture. I'm very excited to start off with my slide as something positive. When we looked and mapped at the different occupancy from the key cities, for business, we really have seen that occupancy has returned. Before, during the pandemic period, we have seen a lot of red spots. And of course, there has been many hotels has been affected, many has closed. But with the opening, now we have seen that majority are on the green. So that is really a good sign because the business is really creeping up already, especially in Thailand, in Indonesia. I take care of Southeast Asia. I can pretty much say that business is back, travel is back, whether it's international or also domestic travel, right? So this is quite exciting. So I guess most of you here will be in business travel. You're looking at negotiating for the next few years, what's for the business. Now, when we try to look at the average daily rate for the hotel and map that out, so we can see that generally for Southeast Asia, there's really some uptick, especially if those who are using the US dollars. So the currency is into to their advantage because really there are some considerations for many regions and you can pretty much have a little bit of advantage, especially if you're using the US dollar currency. Now, things are pretty much looking up, so let's now zoom in into Asia Pacific, pretty much our turf here. So we've seen that Bangkok, you're here, you've seen that it's so busy. Just over the weekend, I was in Phuket. Also quite exciting. Now, what is interesting is there's a lot of Russian travelers as well. So predominantly, there's Indian travelers, there's Russian travelers, Asian travelers, a little bit here and there. But there is a good indicator also that towards the end of the year, they have a big demand or big occupancy expected for key cities, especially for the beach destinations. Now, what we're seeing here is like for key cities like Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, it's green shoots when it comes to occupancy levels. When you look at Sydney, Auckland, yes, obviously still also on a very positive note when it comes to occupancy rates. Now, and occupancy. Now, for the rates, also green shoots. You got Hong Kong already. What is a good thing is they're also now growing in terms of the rate. Singapore has already far exceeded its expectation. So if you're in Singapore, looking at the Singapore market, we really have seen that occupancy, ADR has been pushed up, especially during the F1, and there's so many events happening, and also there's a lot of events coming in for the next few months. So we are seeing a lot of good expectations for the Singapore market. Now, Jakarta, what is interesting for the Indonesian market, Jakarta is almost near their 2019 level. So what we are seeing here is a comparison between 2019 and 2022. So by the end of October, things are really looking up when it comes to the rates and occupancy. Now, this is about forecasting. So this is what really makes me really excited about. So when we looked at historical data, because with STR, we need to look at historical data before we can actually do a proper forecast. So we look at the long-term historical data, 5, 10 years, And then we also look at the upcoming supply, upcoming demand. So these are just some few markets that I have plotted here. So along with STR and tourism economics, when we do the forecast, we have seen that Jakarta, just at least if we look at Southeast Asia, you got Bangkok, we got Jakarta, they are almost really towards the 2019 levels in terms of RevPAR. So RevPAR is obviously the best key indicator for the hotels. So we are really looking at a positive note for these key markets. Melbourne, Singapore, Sydney, we are projecting that they are going to be a great recovery for 2023. If you're looking at Asia Pacific per se, so this is very, very fresh forecast that I have collected just a few days back. When we look at the average daily rate for Asia Pacific, we are expecting by the end of Q4, if we would compare to 2019, the average daily rate will be about 3% higher as compared to 2019. So I think, that is really a great indicator that the demand for Asia Pacific is coming back. So based on our expectation, based on looking at the events, looking at historical performance, the dailies and the weekends, so that is really a great expectations for the region. Now, before I finish off, there's one thing that I also want to highlight. Since most of you here will be in the business travel, this is the pipeline numbers. So we are seeing that Vietnam, Indonesia, all the way to Thailand, these are the top markets where there are the biggest pipeline. So in the next 5 years, you will expect a lot of rooms to be added into the market. So these are just a few indicators here that hopefully will be useful for you when you do your forecasting for the next few months. Thank you.